What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here, and I want to give you a head-to-head comparison of the two biggest smartphone Goliaths on the market right now. In one corner we have Sprint's Evo 4G, and on the other we have the just released iPhone 4 for AT&T Wireless. Both of these things pack a ton of punch and a lot of the same features. So let's put these things together head-to-head and declare a winner. Today we're going to cover display, processor, storage, camera, connectivity, browser, battery, speed, text entry, and some customization. So let's go ahead and jump right in here and talk about the display. That's one of the things that you always look at the iPhone 4. You hear about the Retina display and you look at the huge screen on the Evo 4G display. It plays a very prominent role in the marketing and sales of both of these devices. So the iPhone 4 is a 3.5-inch screen with a resolution of 960 by 480. The LCD display quadruples the amount from the last generation to 614,400. So it's got more pixels on a smaller screen. The Evo's got a 4.3-inch screen with a resolution of 480 by 800 pixels, and its pixel count is about 384. So for a smaller screen, the iPhone 4's Retina display far outshines the larger screen on the Evo 4 as far as picture quality, sharpness, and pixel density. So despite the larger size of the Evo 4G, the better screen still goes to the iPhone 4. And when you look at text and you look at videos and pictures, you can notice that the screen is much sharper, and you'll sort of see that as we go along with the tests. So round one is going to the iPhone 4. So let's talk about sort of the size and display and how big and pocketable they are. The iPhone 4 is 0.37 inches thick. You can see it right there, and weighs about 4.8 ounces. On the other hand, the Evo 4G is about half an inch thick and weighs about 6.2 ounces, so a bit heavier. The Evo 4G is just on the very outside of pocketability. You certainly can fit it in a pocket, but it's a little bit bigger than what you might like. The iPhone is sort of a more perfect size to fit in, but this one's going to be a personal preference about which one you prefer. So I'm going to make this one be a draw. If you're getting the Evo 4G, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know you're getting a bigger phone. You got to check it to make sure it's going to fit in your pocket. The iPhone 4 odds are just going to work. Alright, so let's talk about processor next. The HTC Evo 4G uses the 1 GHz Snapdragon processor built by Qualcomm. It's sort of been all the rage in the smartphone world right now. The processor in the iPhone is Apple's A4 system on a chip, the same processor that's being used in the iPad, albeit probably clocked down a little bit. And as we'll see, speed for speed, these things are very comparable. So this processor is a draw. These are both power-sipping, very capable processors that handle multitasking and video, really everything that you throw at it with a great alacrity. It means they handle it very well. So let's talk about storage next, because a lot to talk about here in the storage department. The least expensive option is going to be the iPhone 4. So the least expensive iPhone 4 is going to give you 16 gigabytes of storage, and it can be up to 32 for an extra $100. So for $300, you get 32 gigabytes of storage from Apple or AT&T. The Evo comes with an 8 gigabyte card, expandable to 32, but an extra card that's going to go up to 32 all the way is going to cost you about $200. So for $200 from Sprint and $200 for an SD card, you are going to be paying about $400, $100 more than what you pay for the same storage on the iPhone 4. Although that card will be removable, and I'm sure that price will drop, but right now you are paying a bit more for storage on the Evo. This one here, though, I'm going to call a draw because you might like removable storage or you might not. So that's, again, is going to be a personal preference thing. So let's jump over to connectivity, because both of these things are stacked with connectivity options. The iPhone 4, for example, has 3G speeds, which is capable of 600 kilobits per second to 1.7 megabits per second. It does have Wi-Fi, including BG and N. The Evo, on the other hand, has 4G capable, if you're in a 4G network, which can do speeds on average from 3 to 6 megabits per second. It can do a video call without Wi-Fi, whereas the 4 needs Wi-Fi to use FaceTime. It can also be used as a Wi-Fi hotspot, which is pretty cool. So a few extra features here, including the addition of 4G, which is a biggie. This edge goes to the Evo. So I'm gonna get some hands-on stuff, guys, in just a minute. Let's talk about battery life, since things are gonna have to be used and they're powering a lot of stuff. iPhone 4, you're going to get about 7 hours of 3G talk time, about 14 hours of 2G talk time, about 300 hours of standby, 6 hours of 3G internet, 10 hours with just Wi-Fi internet, 10 hours of video playback, and 40 hours of audio playback. Those numbers are actually very similar to what you're going to get on the Evo, And it's so similar, in fact, that it's going to depend on what brightness your level's at to really determine a winner here. The iPhone 4 does have a little bit larger battery, so you're probably going to get a tad bit longer battery life, but nothing noticeable enough to declare a clear winner here. So battery life, we're going to go with a tie. So now let's jump into browser. I do a lot of my work on the mobile web, and I assume that you guys probably do as well and rely on it very heavily. So let's check how the mobile web experience is for both of these devices. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all tasks that are running in the background here. So I'll use Task Manager here, go ahead and kill selected apps. And I will close all applications here on the iPhone 4 as well, just to keep things fair. Although I do know that these applications aren't all running, it just makes the test seem a bit fair to have everything sort of closed in the background. And this is really the only way you can close all your applications, to go through them one by one. That does take some time if you need to. Although the 512 megabytes of RAM in the iPhone 4, you should never really need to do this. But for testing purposes, I wanted to make sure everything was closed. So we're going to load two websites that we've loaded on here before. So it'll be a test of sites you visit on a regular basis. We're going to load technobuffalo.com and my YouTube channel. And these are right now both connected over the same Wi-Fi network. So I'll go ahead and bust open the internet. All right, and we will go to TechnoBuffalo on each. We'll stop that. We'll go to TechnoBuffalo here. And this has been loaded on both devices in the past. And we'll do the same thing here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit go on both of these at the same time and see if we can get a fair comparison. And we're off. And again, both load the same Wi-Fi, both very fast processors. It looks like the Evo's got a bit of an edge. iPhone 4 caught up and finished very quickly. Actually loaded a different site. We're going to start this test over again. Okay, so got both browsers here open. They've got TechnoBuffalo on there. I'm going to refresh the page and see how this looks. Go ahead and hit go there, and the green button down there. And we are off at exactly the same time, which is harder to do than you might expect. And we'll see which one loads first. Looks like the Evo has a bit of a lead. Like the Evo is done, and the iPhone 4 is still loading up. And now is done. So this is kind of interesting test here too to see some things that are going on. The Evo is capable of playing Flash content, whereas the Flash content on the iPhone is just not viewable. So speeds here, looks like the Evo was a bit faster. Let's try another website. We'll try my YouTube channel and see if there's a difference. So there it is there. I'll try the same thing here. Alright, try and hit both of these here at the same time again. Oh, closed on me. Okay, so we got that one, and we have right there, and we're off at the same time. And we'll see which one loads the YouTube page a bit faster. We'll see if the Evo still holds that lead. And it looks like it is loading faster. And the Evo is done, and now the iPhone 4 is done. Now you'll notice that right here, it's saying, you zoom in, cannot be played. This does support Flash, but oftentimes YouTube videos that are viewed from the webpage just don't play. The Flash content that it plays is sort of sometimes iffy, sometimes not, and definitely not all that smooth. But you can see that it works, and you can see that there are the ads that are showing up there, so showing Flash content. Let's check about now scrolling on both of these and how this pinching and zooming works. You can scroll sort of relatively quickly, though the physics engine isn't necessarily all that smooth. It's a bit jerky, but it does work. On the iPhone, the scrolling is very smooth. Multi-touch, sort of the same thing. It's not terribly smooth, but it does work. Double tap to zoom. Double tap to zoom. It's actually loading a web page. Here, if I want to zoom in, very silky smooth. Double tap to zoom. Double tap to zoom. So over the same Wi-Fi network, you are going to get a bit faster speeds on the Evo 4G, and you are going to get Flash. I think from a smoothness standpoint, the iPhone 4 is a little bit of a better browsing experience, but that's going to be a personal preference. If Flash is important to you, then the Evo 4G is going to be a great way to go. So now that these are running on different networks, let's test the network speed. I'm going to turn off Wi-Fi, and I'm going to refresh both of these pages here. So let me go back a page, and I will refresh it so we can see whether or not Sprint's network holds a candle to AT&T's or vice versa. And again, this is going to vary depending on where you are and your location. I'm in Southern California. I've got about 3 to 4 bars of 3G here on Sprint. Let me go ahead and turn off Wi-Fi, and I'll do this live on camera so you can see that there's no funny business going on. Turn off Wi-Fi. Same thing here. Kicked off Wi-Fi. All right, so we're going to go ahead and refresh this page and see if we have any difference. So we'll go ahead and hit go there. And we'll do the same thing here. With the green and the blue. All right, and we are off. Now we're using 3G networks for both. We're not using Wi-Fi. We've got about 3 bars of 3G for Sprint and about 4 bars for AT&T. It looks like Sprint loaded it first, and AT&T is still loading, and now just about done. So from a browsing standpoint, you are going to get a faster experience on the Evo. These results sort of been duplicated throughout my test, something to keep in mind. So this round is going to go to the Evo. So let's go ahead and move right along here. I'm going to update my records. And let's talk about text entry. So there's a lot of text entry that is important to a phone like this. Certainly not having a physical keyboard, how well you can input text is going to be of utmost importance. So let's start here with the Evo. We'll go to messages. We'll do a new message. And let's tap to compose. So there are a couple cool things you can do here. First, and I've shown that this works very well, you can have a text-to-speech. It's another way to input text. Let me give that demonstration of that here. I'm gonna have to hold it up to my face so to do so. Go ahead and just push that little microphone icon. This is a test of the keyboard on the Evo 4G. This is a test of the keyboard on the Evo 4G. Well, some might say so, but that is very, very close. I could send that somewhere and it would work. And real-world tests are very accurate with this on-screen, or this keyboard where you can just speak, and the text-to-speech does work very well. But if you don't want to talk into your phone, how is the keyboard itself? Well, let's try this one more time, and we'll do a typing test here. Try and type Winnie the Pooh sounds gross. I got Minnie the Pooh sounds gross. The autocorrect on Android is very good, and if the phone doesn't have a physical keyboard, you need to have a good autocorrect. So this works quite well. A small mistake, not that big a deal. And because the phone is so large, the keyboard is really nice. Now it gets even huger if we do a little switch here. Let's try this one more time. Winning the Pooh sounds gross. So I'm not the most accurate on this, but the keyboard is very big and you'd get used to it very quickly. Admittedly, and for the next test, I am an iPhone user, so I am a bit more used to the iPhone keyboard. Although this is very usable and really nice and easy to navigate, you do get arrow keys on the side. So if you're worried about a keyboard, don't. Evo 4G really does a fantastic job, as does Android as a whole. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 4. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new note. Go ahead and type down there. And we will do the same thing and see if I'm any more accurate. So Winnie the Pooh sound gross. Kind of close. Let's try it in landscape. So Winnie the Pooh sounds gross. I'm a bit more accurate on the iPhone, but maybe because I'm just an iPhone user, although I felt like I could get used to very quickly the keyboard on the Evo 4G. So I want to give you guys now sort of a camera demonstration. I think that's sort of important to talk about of both these devices. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about the cameras first, and I'll show you some demonstrations. Go ahead and get back to home. So the camera on the iPhone 4 is a 5 megapixel sensor on the back and a 0.3 camera on the front, and it has a single LED flash. The camera on the Evo 4G is an 8 megapixel sensor with a 1.3 megapixel camera on the front, and it has a dual LED flash. So from the spec standpoint, it sounds like the Evo 4G has a little bit of an edge. But I'm going to go now and put in some pictures and video and see how real-world quality actually works. Alright, so now that you guys have seen the cameras on each, which one do you think is better? In my opinion, the video quality on the iPhone 4 is far superior to what we're going to get on the Evo 4G, despite the fact they both shoot in 720. However, I think the still picture quality on the Evo is a bit better than what we see on the iPhone. It may be due to the dual LED flash in low light situations. So we're going to call the camera round a draw. So now let's talk about speed and which one of these are quicker. Since they both run similar processors and have similar specs, how fast is it going to be in really everyday life? So we already saw browsing. Now let's try opening and closing some applications that we use on a regular basis. So we'll go ahead and close everything else out again. Do the same thing here on the iPhone. Got a lot of things open, as you can tell. There we go. Now we're dealing with fresh and fresh on each. Let's go ahead and open up something familiar. We'll go to... How about we try opening up the camera on each of these here. It's opened up a tiny bit faster there on the Evo. Let's go ahead and try something else. I know this is a very unscientific test. Let's try opening something that both have. How about we try opening up settings? Settings sounds like a good one. So almost instantaneous on the Evo, a bit slower on the iPhone. Let's go ahead and try one more thing that both have. Oops, close that. Let's try opening up the stocks applications. So a bit quicker there on the iPhone. Overall, opening and closing applications tend to be just a tiny bit zippier in almost everything on the Evo 4G. The iPhone 4 is by no means slow. It's markedly faster than the 3GS, but things open just a little bit slower on the iPhone versus the Evo. So I'd be remiss to compare both of these two without talking about the operating systems and sort of how that plays into effect and how that works with the phones. You're going to have a love or hate relationship, odds are, with one of these. Apple does a few things very, very well. First, I think they have the best implementation of multi-touch. Their integrated and seamless experience is really second to none if you're willing to live with inside of Apple's walled garden. If you're okay with the iTunes, iPhone, infrastructure, the iPhone is a fantastic device. Personally, I'm okay with that, and I use the iPhone as my daily driver. However, on the other end of the spectrum, we have Android, which is really much more open. You can do a lot with it. You can customize the operating system. You have a lot more tweaks and things that you can change. A lot more home screens that you can add. We've got something here called Snap, which is a HTC Sense feature, and you can jump to all your different home screens and customize them with widgets really any way you choose. So if we have to talk about operating system customization, which I think is a very important thing to talk about, the Evo is going to get the edge. If we're talking about operating systems together, I think it's definitely got to be a draw. It's really going to come down to whichever one you like the best. So we're going to do a final tally here. Display went to the iPhone. Processor was a draw. Storage went to the iPhone. Camera was a draw. Connectivity went to the Evo. Battery was a draw. Browser went to the Evo. Speed, we just saw, was a little bit quicker on the Evo. Text entry was a draw. Customization, I think, goes to the Evo. And general OS is a draw. So if we're going to tackle and add all these up, we've got 2 rounds for the iPhone, 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds for the Evo, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds that were a draw. So we do have a winner here. The winner is the Evo 4G. It's a fantastic phone. Personally, I use the iPhone as my daily driver, but in all fairness, the Evo did win in all of these tests that we conducted. You can't go wrong with either, but if you can choose which one you want and you're in a 4G network, it'd be very hard not to recommend the Sprint Evo 4G. So do you guys agree or disagree? Am I way off? Be sure to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/John4Lakers, for all the HTC Evo and iPhone and all tech-related news that you can handle. And check out the website at technobuffalo.com. I am John Rettinger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.